guys, happy Sunday. It is October 21st, I believe, and I am here to share some knitting with you today. Today's a primarily knitting podcast. I don't have any crochet. You know, it's weird. I haven't felt much like crocheting in the last couple of weeks, but I'm eyeing a project that I want to start pretty soon. I think I'm going to pull out another big cake and make yet another granny star blanket because my daughter has been asking for another one. Like I've mentioned before, she loves all crochet blankets. She is constantly carrying them around the house, spreading them out in the living room floor and watching movies and stuff with them. So that is something that I'm looking forward to. I have 3 finished objects this week. If you watched last week, I had mentioned that I was going to be working on the lotus flower beanie. I had purchased some Malabrigo Rasta in the colorway Anniversario, and what was the other one? I can't remember, and I threw away the band. It was like a light blue. So I worked on those, and then out of the blue yesterday, I was going through my Ravelry patterns that I've purchased, and I found a hat from Joji Locatelli that I really love and I've never made, and I just love the way that it looks, so I figured I was gonna give that a try. And let's see, I cast it on Friday night, and by like Saturday mid-afternoon I was done. It worked up super fast. It was made in worsted weight. I mean, obviously it didn't work up as fast as the super bulky hats, but it was very fast. And a bonus about this hat is that my son really likes it. So I let him pick out the colors, and he's the one who's going to end up with the hat because he just thinks it's great. So let me get started here, and I'm going to show you my first finished object, which is the lotus flower beanie. And I love this. It's so pretty. This is knit with a super bulky, and look at the little flowers. They're so cute. Now, I was reading through some of the project, not the project notes, the pattern comments on Ravelry, and it sounded like this had been super popular on Instagram at some point in time, and probably because I knew that I had wanted to knit this pattern, but I can't remember where I found it from, and I guess it must have been Instagram, but it's very pretty. I think that the original, or one of the original pattern photos, is knit in whole grain, which is, this is more like a bluish tinged light color, and whole grain is more of like a beige, but this is more silvery blue. So, but I definitely like it. I was super happy, and a lot of the project notes had said that the stitch was going to be kind of like fiddly and difficult, but I found out a couple things about this pattern. So once you do, I'd say, one repeat of repeat would be 2 flowers. So once you do 1 repeat, you're pretty good to go. You'll get into the groove of things, and you don't even have to look at the pattern anymore other than to know how many rows of these star stitches you need. I didn't find this stitch to be super difficult, and I know last week I had mentioned I was going to use a crochet hook on it, but I really didn't see a reason to. It was pretty straightforward. After a while though, it did start to hurt my hands, and I think that's more because I was using a size 13 instead. A 13 millimeter. Is that right? Or is it size 13? I'll put it down below because I always get those confused. But I think that it started to hurt my hand more because the needles were so large and I'm used to working on a lot smaller, thinner needles. So I love the finished object, and my daughter likes the finished object too. Now, I had 2 skeins of this, and we see this one right here. Now, I was able to basically inverse the colors, and I had been worried that I would not have enough yarn with just 2 skeins because somebody had mentioned that they weren't able to get 2 hats out of 2 skeins, but I did not have this problem. I will mention though, I knit the adult size and it's pretty, I wouldn't consider this an adult large. I would probably maybe consider this like an adult small. And from the project notes, the pattern comments, it does seem like the sizes run a little bit small. But the pattern is done in such a way that you could easily extrapolate how to get the size bigger if you figure out the stitch counts, which I'm not going to say because, you know, it's a paid for pattern. One thing about the pattern is it is expensive for a hat. I bought it, but just a fair warning there. The pattern worked great for me. I wasn't confused. It was very clear. I love the design, so I wanted to support the designer and purchase it. And I definitely don't regret it. And now my daughter has 2 very cute hats. And they haven't been blacked yet. I have not blacked these. I will black them though because they're Rasta, and I feel like the second that they get wet, they're going to grow a little bit. I believe that's just the nature of the yarn that I'm using. This was the first time that I had used Malabrigo Rasta, and I definitely did like it. So this is going to be a hat, and I didn't find it overly pilling as I was working with it. I didn't find it starting to wear. If you work with a yarn quite a bit and you're handling it a lot, there are some yarns that will start to pill, right? As your hand's running across the yarn repeatedly, it starts to kind of wear and look a little disgruntled, but I did not really find that with this. One skein of this I paid $27, but I bought it from a small yarn store. That's expensive, but I think it's good for hats. I wouldn't you would need a ton of this yarn to make a sweater, right? So that's definitely going to be out of my price range, but I think for just a little hat, it's good. Whenever I look at yarn prices, I always think, okay, this yarn costs this much, but how much time of entertainment is it going to give me? So sometimes that helps. I will show you my a cloud cardigan, which I am working with very inexpensive yarn. I actually, it's very inexpensive yarn, so it's basically the polar opposite of this stuff. Do you see how the colors kind of swap out? Now, the multicolored one is Anniversario, and I like how it makes all of the flowers seem like they're different colors. So pretty. Now, on the opposite hand, you can see like how it works up in the ribbing, and that is also super pretty. Instead of like every flower being a different color, it's almost like every stitch. Very nice. I've always been a big fan of bulky hats. I just like the way that they look and how fast they knit up, and it's great. So I worked on a second hat, well, a third hat, a second hat pattern, and this one is for my son, and he picked out the colors for this one, and I love this hat pattern. This hat pattern is so cute to me, and it is so super simple, but I love it. It is so quirky. This pattern is called Odd Stripes by Joji Locatelli, and it calls for worsted weight yarn. So for this hat, I used Cascade 220 Superwash in I like a light blue color and a black color, obviously light blue color. I mean, you guys can see the colors. I just can't remember the color name. But I liked working with this yarn, and I think that it's great hat yarn. So it feels really soft. And now when I was working up this hat, I look at the brim, right? So you start off knitting some rows of just plain stockinette, so it curls at the bottom, and then you go into the ribbing. And I think that's a cute touch. I really like the way that it looks. It kind of rolls up at the bottom. And okay, so I made a size medium, and there were 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. So this was like the in-between size, and this fit my son perfectly. And he has kind of a big head. Both of my kids have big heads. Like all of my ultrasounds they were always like, your child has a head in the 96th percentile or 99th or whatever. It's very silly, but I love it. This one I'm going to make again. I actually have plans on making one of these for my daughter. I have more Cascade 220 Superwash, and I was asking her because I have purple, and I'm pretty sure I know she'll want purple somehow in the hat. But I gave her the choice. I'm like, do you want purple and black, or do you want like purple and blue? And she surprised me by saying she wanted purple and blue. So I'm like, okay, we'll do that. So look forward, I guess, to seeing that one done sometime in the coming weeks. I love the way this hat came out. So I'm not no, I can't say, well, yeah, I guess I can say that. Usually when I make hat patterns, I tend to stick to like a handful of them. I'll work on a muscle burrow. I love that ombre hat. It's a color work hat that has little spots of different colors, and it kind of like fades. So you start off with one color as the main color and fade up to where the contrasting color on the bottom is the main color on the top. I think it's the quick and easy ombre hat. So I'll stick to that one. I really like the Divine hat. That's a crochet hat. But I really, like I've said, I've actually said this to quite a bit of people. This to me is going to take like, it's going to be up there for one of my favorite hat patterns that I'm gonna work, because I don't know, I love the way that this looks. So I remember when I had gotten it, and I was just looking through Joji's patterns, because before the fall knit along, she'll sometimes do a sale on her patterns so you can buy them to participate. And I had been looking through her hat patterns, and this one jumped out at me, and I'm like, oh, because I think that the reason this like appeals to me so much is because of how asymmetrical it is. And I just find that it's unique. Do you know what I mean? Like it. So it makes me happy. I've never seen a hat like this, I don't think, before I ran across this pattern. But I have, so like I said, I have some Cascade 220 Superwash. I'm going to make my daughter one of these, and it's like a dark purple and the light blue that she wanted. And I also have like a nutmeggy brown and like a dark reddish brown. I have 2 shades of brown. I can't recall exactly what shades they are, but they very much remind me of like pumpkin and pumpkin spice and autumn. And I know that the 2 browns go together, so I'm thinking I want to make one of these for myself in those 2 shades of brown. At times like this, when I run across a really nice hat pattern, I really wish that I had either a charity that wouldn't mind being sent like items that are superwash wool, or like lots of friends and family I could make hats for, because I don't know if I've ever said this, but I am definitely a process knitter. So while I love like what I knit, I don't knit for that product. I knit because it relaxes me and calms me down, and it just makes everything seem so much better. The finished item is more of a bonus. It's not like the be-all, end-all. Obviously, if like I was working on a knitted project and I, for some reason, screwed it up somehow or it didn't fit, it would make me sad. But at the end of the day, I would, pull it out and redo it and not be too upset about it, just because I do like the process. I am definitely a big fan of simple patterns at times, and this was definitely a simple pattern. Part of me wants to say that I like this more than the Muscle Burrow. And don't get me wrong, I love that hat. But this is like 1 hat worth of knitting, so it's a little bit faster. Plus, I knit this it's knit in worsted weight. Muscle Burrow can be any weight, and generally when I make those, it's fingering, so it's a lot more knitting. I love this. I think it's so pretty. I would love to make one. The sample picture, I believe, was like gray, like light gray and black. And I think that the super high contrast is very nice. I would like a red and white, maybe like a white and black, or like a light gray and black. I've always been a big fan of super high contrast. But yeah, this was done from Friday, like I said, Friday night to like Saturday mid-afternoon. Definitely worth it. So the last thing that I've been working on is my Like a Cloud. Now I have things to talk about with this, so here we are. And it's getting big. Do you see that down there? That's 4 inches of ribbing. 4. Ah. Okay. Trust me, 4 inches of ribbing takes a while. So this is actually what we've got here. The arms will be here. And I knit this bigger than my size by quite a bit. I had wanted quite a bit of positive ease for it. So, it makes me seem so short because my torso is not that long, but this yarn is super soft. It's very inexpensive. And I'm trying to think about what else I can say about it. So I was looking at the pattern, right? There's no button band on this. There's no border. There's nothing. And I'm like, that's not going to work for me. So I'm going to probably do some sort of crochet border. it's my fault, and it's because I didn't read ahead in the pattern, and I didn't realize there wasn't a band. Otherwise, I would have done some slip stitching at the end to make the edges look neater. That was an oversight on my part, obviously, but I think that adding maybe like a single crochet border will just kind of tie it up a little bit better. Now, besides that border, I'm done with everything except the sleeves. Now, I've been thinking about this, right? So, tomorrow is 2 weeks until my surgery, and what better after surgery knitting than the sleeves of a cardigan? So I am going to temporarily hibernate this until I get back from the hospital and I feel like knitting. So you will not see this next week, and that's definitely out of characteristic for me, because usually once I start on a project, I am working on it until it's complete within reason. So like, say this hat, for instance, I want to make a hat or 2 or 3, you know, I'll knit them, but generally I'm focused on one big project at a time. So this is definitely out of character. Jeez. It's definitely out of character for me, but I think it's gonna be okay. Like I said, I feel like having some round and round just knitting with a simple like knit and purl pattern is going to be beneficial after my surgery, so I'm not going to be dealing with my next cast on, which is going to be lace. And I'll talk about that in a second. I don't think the sleeves are going to take me very long. I mean, a couple of days. Although, like I said, we've got 4 inches of ribbing here, and the sleeves also have 4 inches of ribbing, which is going to be a lot less ribbing than the body, but still a lot. Part of me is kind of sad though that it doesn't have something right there with the border. I had really thought it was going to. I guess that's okay. I might actually soak this and black it out before I start working on it again, just to get all of any growing that could happen out of the way. That cardigan is so light. So the yarn that I've been using is 50-gram balls, and I just started my 9th and 10th ball because I'm holding them double. So, and it's still super light. I guess that's what happens when you do 2 strands of mohair. Well, mohair acrylic. Okay, so I have a couple of cast-ons that I'm going to be working on. I'll probably cast on at least one of them tonight, so that way I'll have something to work on during the week. But I've right here. See this one? This is called, I believe it's Rafa's hat, and it is just a very simple knit beanie. Slouchy? No, it's beanie. I would say beanie. This is written by Joji Locatelli, and I believe this is a free pattern, and I really just like the way that the hat looks. Now, I have a lot of this blue still. I actually have a whole nother ball of it, but I asked my son, I'm like, what color would you like this hat in? Would you like it in the blue or the black? And he's like, the blue. So he's the boss. And I'm gonna be working on that in the blue for him. So I don't think I've ever knit like a plain ribbed, like a hat that's ribbed all the way. And I don't know if it's gonna drive me crazy or not, because those 4 inches of ribbing on that cardigan took forever. So, well, not forever, but you know, it's very monotonous. Whereas something like this hat was super, I don't want to say engaging because it was simple too, but I mean, it kept my brain active. When I'm doing ribbing, I can just like almost half fall asleep. But I'm looking forward to making this one. If he likes it, I might ask him if he wants to take a look at the Cascade 220 Superwash colors that I have and see if he wants another one. It is getting, I mean, October 21st, right? So winter's coming. So he's gonna need some hats because it gets cold here. Especially like worsted hats. Nobody wants their ears cold in the middle of winter, especially if it's snowing and they have like outdoor recess and stuff. So, but I'm excited to knit this. I've never done it, and that was another one of her patterns that I ran across, and I was like, oh, I really like this hat pattern. So this is what I'm planning on casting on, like as soon as I'm done with this recording this. This is the Ripple Lake cardigan, and this is also by Joji Locatelli. So I have some cyan in Aurora, and then I have like I don't know what the color is called, and it's like a green, blue, purple color. And because I only have 3 of the cyan, so I'm hoping that I can do some of the sleeves, the green and purple color, and then kind of fade into the cyan on each side, and then go back to the green and purple just for the sleeves. I'll try to pull it off the best that I can, because I'm almost positive I'm not going to have enough yarn unless I use that green and purple. And I mean, they match really well, so why not? I have been looking at this pattern today, and this is knit sideways. So, and it's also lace, which you probably can't tell from the picture. So I can put a picture of the pattern photo up here. But this is lace, and it's very pretty. And I really like the cardigan as a whole. It's not that long, which I think I'm okay with in this case, because it's almost like a really cute, short, like flowy cardigan. And it reminds me a little bit of my Hito Fude, which I made in like a hot pink, like a bubblegum pink color. This one is going to be more like a cerulean blue, well, with green and purple. But this is definitely going to be my main focus until my surgery, and then after my surgery, I'll move back to working on my Like a Cloud. I just think that it'll work a little bit better that way because, like I said, this is lace, and that is super easy, super simple knit and purl. As for what I'll work on when I'm in the hospital, because I'm supposed to be there between 2 to 3 days, I don't know yet. I guess we'll have to revisit, like, so my surgery is on a Monday, so I'll revisit like the day before my surgery and see what's what, because I also do have half of a muscle burrow on the needles for my daughter, and it's like a really cute, I think that the colorway has something to do with mermaids, but it's like purple and green and just cute colors. Colors that my daughter would love. And I would really like to get that off the needles. And since it's a Musselburgh, it knits up, you know, super easy. So that's definitely hospital knitting. This is not. And I wouldn't want to bring my cardigan there either. If I were just starting like a sweater and it was like little tiny, I just, like, if I hadn't cast it on, or it was just this teeny tiny project and I was bringing it, it'd be fine. But this is very big. So I don't want to have to deal with that while I'm in like a hospital bed, not feeling my best and all that stuff. I can't wait to cast this on. It's going to be very fun. You know what? I've done lace in the past, and my approach with knitting lace is putting stitch markers everywhere. I will put a stitch marker for each pattern repeat. I actually do this for color work too. I don't like messing around. So if I have something that I'm repeating and I need to make sure I have the right amount of stitches, and if I have a yarn over or something that if it's 2 stitches over, it's gonna screw up and I'm gonna have to tink back, I'm going to use stitch markers. Like, if I have to put stitch markers in every 15 stitches to make sure I don't have to tink back 40 rows because I screwed something up, I will definitely do that. That's just how I am. It doesn't bother me at all. I definitely appreciate being safe than sorry, right? I mean, because to me, pinking back a bunch of lace is not going to be very much fun. Not as fun as knitting it and, not having to rip it out would be. So if I have a project that requires utmost concentration where I need a precise number of stitches and I'm doing decreases and increases and yarn overs, and it's just better for me to have a specific number of stitches between each stitch marker. So that will be my approach for the Ripple Lake cardigan as well. Now, this week has been a lot of fun. It is getting closer to Halloween, so my kiddos had some Halloween festivities, and you can definitely tell in the air that it's fall here in Southeast Michigan. It's been raining pretty much the entire week, except for I think today and possibly like last Tuesday. So that's not good if you have things like arthritis or inflammatory issues, because I know that whenever it rains, I have to take some sort of ibuprofen or something. So hopefully we get through this winter and we can go back to like nice, bright, sunny. I laughed with my husband. I said, I need like 8 or 9 sun lamps. I just all over the house, everywhere. Even in the summertime, I am the type of person who wants like the light to be as bright as possible. I have these desk lamps. We got them off Amazon. They're like OT lights, but they're not OT lights. So you can actually adjust how bright they go, and I'm always cranking them up as high as they'll go. I like when things are bright. To me, it seems like when it's really dark and dreary, it's just kind of depressing out. Anyway, like I said, my kids have gone to different trunk or treats this week, and next week is, let's see, it's the 21st, I think. Did I say that? So a week from today is the 30th. So not this Monday, but next Monday is Halloween, I think. Either way, it's around there. That's a general idea of Halloween, right? But that's crazy. It seemed like October just started. It seemed like August just started, I'm hoping that... So my son is 12 and my daughter is 8. So my son is super hard to buy for. Like during the holidays, we'll ask him, well, what would you like for Christmas? And he's like, I don't know. And then my daughter, she'll like hijack the Meyer catalog and like the Amazon catalog and the Target catalog, and she'll grab a highlighter and like circle everything on every page. So it's a little bit easier to buy for her, but I'm hoping that my son can come up with at least a couple of ideas that he might like for Christmas. He has been kind of eyeing and talking about getting piano lessons. And I know that he loves playing the keyboard that he has, but I mean, the problem is he's in advanced math right now, and he's in 7th grade, and it's a lot of work. He's doing advanced math, and he also has karate. He's a junior black belt, so he's got a lot going on, but we'll see. Maybe he will like something to do with that. This week I have read, let's see. So I listened to the 2nd and 3rd books in the Maze Runner series, and that would be The Scorch Trials and The Death Cure. Now, this is like the second time in a handful of weeks that I've read a 3-book series where I loved the 1st and 2nd books, and like the 3rd book was just kind of like, I mean, it was okay. I didn't mind it, but I really liked the 1st and 2nd books a lot better. So the Scorch Trials was really good. That was the 2nd book. And then at like the end of the Death Trials, which is the 3rd book, I was kind of just wanting it to be over. Does that make sense? It wasn't that it was a bad book. It was just, I was just done with it. The other book that I've listened to is definitely a silly, geeky book. So the book that I listened to is called 5 Survive, and I don't know who wrote this book, so I'll put the info down right here. And it definitely reminded me of one of those old Christopher Pike books. It was, there was this group of teenagers and like 2 20-somethings going to spring break, and their RV breaks down, and then they find out someone shot out the tires, and there's a sniper with a rifle, and he contacts them through walkie-talkie, and he's like, well, one of you has a secret, and you'd better give up your secret or I'm going to kill you all. So you can imagine how that story went. It was a train wreck, right? It was definitely a train wreck. And then like the whole book was a train wreck where like a bunch of teenagers act exactly how you'd think a bunch of teenagers would act. And there's a whole bunch of blaming back and forth, like, well, it's not my secret, it must be your secret, and it's not your... It was very dramatic. So it stayed that way throughout the whole book. And then like the last hour, like everything clicked into place and it just like tied up in a neat little bow. I think I have like 20 minutes left on the book. It was very easy listening. I'm pretty sure it was a young adult book. Very easy listening. You get exactly what you expect. I mean, the title 5 Survive. So when I was little, we used to go to like Blockbuster. Wow, I'm really old, right? When I was little, we used to go to like Blockbuster and stuff, and I loved horror movies like when I was in my teens. So I would go down like the horror movie aisle and look at all of the titles and like the corny like VHS or DVD containers. What are they called? We would go look at all of the cases for them, just, you know, because a lot of them are super silly and corny. And it's just 5 Survive really reminds me of like that, right? That could definitely be like one of those old school VHS horror movies. But I mean, I liked it. It was what I needed and what I was looking for. The other book that I'm reading is called Cinnamon and Gunpowder, and I've been reading that on and off throughout the week with my little, I have like a pink book holder. It holds your book open. So usually whenever I'm sitting down at the kitchen table, I'll read that book, and I've liked it so far. It's super cute. I'm not sure where exactly the book is going yet, so I'm going to reserve my opinions until I get a little bit farther in. I think that, no, I can't say that. So I am like an hour away from finishing Lords of Uncreation, and I really appreciate Adrian Tchaikovsky's writing. It's just good. So I still don't know what series I'm going to pick next of his, but like a couple of months ago, I read a book. It was written by a Chinese author, and I'll put the information down here, but it was called Three Body Problem, and it was very good. It was one of those books because I will go through Audible and look at different genres, and this was one of the books that was tagged like hard science fiction, and I love that genre. So there's the first book, which I've read, and I'm thinking of getting the second book and maybe starting that to see if I like it and what's going on. But other than that, that's pretty much all I've got to share with you this week. We are still watching One Piece, and we are like on episode 100, and I think the last time I noticed the episode number, it was 156. So they're in Skypiea right now, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry, it's okay. It's just me being geeky watching anime. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful week, and I hope that you are enjoying fall, and I hope that you get a lot of knitting or crocheting or just crafting in general time, whatever craft that you like. I hope that you get a lot of it, and I will see you guys next week. If you could, please hit the like and or subscribe button. It will help me out tremendously. I will talk to you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.